Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's not time for another daily dose of dismal Disney per se, but we're going to talk about this bill that's been introduced that's supposed...
It's about Florida.
It's about Florida, so it's sort of adjacent. It's Disney adjacent news.
It's DeSantis adjacent.
It's DeSantis adjacent news. Yeah, this bill's been introduced apparently that will require bloggers to register?
You have to register with the state when you write an article about elected officials like DeSantis. He's not the one presenting this.
Like
I'm gonna make that clear.
Offender.
Yeah, because they're saying lobbyists have to register. The difference flipping is lobbyists get paid millions of dollars and they work directly with politicians to quote unquote talk to them. There's no money to talk to them about their issues that they may or may not give money to government official campaigns. So they're required to register and disclose how much they get, but that's lobbyists. We're talking about bloggers, but newspapers are exempt. So we're just basically going to attack bloggers, and you have to register. And if you don't register your article and tell them how much you made, you get fined $25 a day, up to $2,500 until you do.
So basically, they can destroy your blog because a lot of bloggers don't even make $2,500 a month, let alone, yeah. So we're going to talk about this because. We don't know if this is going to pass. Again, this is not something that DeSantis is pushing through, but I think
it's coming from him.
Yeah, I think it's crap.
I think it's crap. I think it's like psychotic, and I think it violates First Amendment rights.
Yeah, because and we'll talk about this because this gets into the whole defamation and all that, and there's a huge difference between covering elected officials, giving an opinion on elected officials, and making defamatory statements, proven falsehoods to destroy people's lives. There's a huge difference. Negatively covering somebody is, again, a First Amendment right that you have, especially an elected official. You have a right to criticize the government. You do, even individuals. So this is kind of...
I can see where they're coming from, but I can see where it's going to be widely abused.
It's going to
put it that way.
It's going to be a slippery slope because you're a hop, skip, and a jump away from, the CCP basically. Where you're not allowed to criticize the government at all, or you get blacklisted.
It sounds like the other things we see on Twitter.
Yes, you're hop, skip, and a jump away from Twitter censorship. That's that. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Where are we at? Over 296, almost 300,000, so almost 297. So thank you so much for the support. We do have a blog. We have multiple blogs at piratesandprincesses.net, which is a more Disney and theme park focused blog, and also clownfishtv.com, which is more pop culture news, entertainment news, that sort of thing. And we do give opinions over there. God, I hope we don't get sued for just giving an opinion.
Well, this whole thing is just... Okay, we'll talk about it here in a second. I want to thank John, who was one of our writers at PMP, because he's the one who put this together. Now, they're not calling it Don't Say Blogger, but I thought that was hilarious that he called it that. So I left that as the headline because it was flippin' funny, so I left it in there.
Yeah.
I would, if this goes through, I'd get in trouble for that.
Oh, God.
Stick it to the man. So,
yeah, this is proposed in the Florida Senate.
He says it was from this Jason, was it Brodeur?
Brodeur?
It's Senate Bill 1316, which is called Information Dissemination Bill. I can't say dissemination without thinking something else because I'm a pervert.
That sounds like you could just set
that's OnlyFans.
Set that to Sherman Brothers music.
Could you do that? Wait, wait. Could you do that on OnlyFans with the music, which you're going to sing in a minute? But could you call it information dissemination while someone's blog or talking about the news as they're getting,
Oh my God.
You make so much money. I get my news from information dissemination.
Hot news coming your way.
So what was your song?
No, I was just going to be like information dissemination.
I was thinking more like Schoolhouse Rock.
You'll never see it coming until it's too late. Wipe that news right off of your face. Okay. Anyway, let's...
I was thinking more like conjunction junction, but that one, okay. Anyway.
Continue. Please continue.
God. Demonetized. Anyway, this is why they want this bill. So things like you say don't get associated with... Okay, so what they want to do is it's going to require bloggers to disclose who's paying them for their posts on elected officials. So, and I get I partly understand where it's coming from because I think with elections, especially recently, there has been an issue where there has been discussed that there are groups that have gone out and paid people to go to social media or do articles and things to try to,
AstroTurf.
Yeah, try to get these narratives out there to try to control elections. And in that regard, I understand what they're talking about. But the problem is it's very hard to prove. And, that's why people are still getting away with it. And the other problem I have with it is, but newspapers are exempt from this. Meanwhile, news outlets, newspapers, they're owned by people who have strong, strong ties to different parties. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
So, no one's going to argue things like the Washington Post don't have political leaning. So when newspapers are allowed to not have to report to, the government in Florida, then it's kind of bullshit to expect bloggers to. It's a very unfair situation because a lot of bloggers are just talking about a situation.
Yeah.
But you have to register that you're talking about a situation and let them know exactly how much money you made, even though, like, on our blog, we wouldn't know. It would be an ongoing thing.
It varies from month to month. It depends on how the ad rates are and how many views you get.
Plus, they stay up forever. So, how are you going to specifically point out exactly how much money? Okay, this month we made 10 cents. Hurry, report it.
Yeah, right.
It's stupid.
10 cents on an article from like 2 years ago or something,
So it says, if a blogger posts to a blog about an elected state officer and receives or will receive compensation for that post, the blogger must register with the appropriate office within 5 days of the post. They said the fine will be $25 a day with a maximum penalty of $2,500. And the reason they argue down the thing is they compare it to lobbying. But there is a huge difference between lobbying and writing an article on a blog. And I don't see them finding lobbyists because they need the lobbyists to fund their, to help them, understand and decide what to do with, political movements going forward and different bills to pass. They need to talk to them so they understand their points. And if money just miraculously appears, that it's just coincidence, I tell you. Sheer coincidence.
This just shows you what the stakes are, though, that they're so afraid. And this is, again, I don't think it's a partisan thing. I think it's politicians are so afraid of losing power, of having people speak out against them or shine a light on them that aren't part of a recognized news outlet, that they're going to try to, put you on a sex offender list, basically.
But the problem is that they're mad about this stuff being posted. Maybe because there was more checks and balances with newspapers. Tell that to the kid that got what they call MAGA hat kid, I forget what his name was. Tell it to that person who sued and won because they ran with narratives that weren't true and they were major news outlets. But major news outlets are exempt. It's just bloggers that we're going to bother with because bloggers are much more of a threat and have much more power than lobbyists. It's pretty much the same thing, right?
Yeah.
God, it pisses me off.
Yeah. Now, because this is pretty broad, they're not really specifying. I'm looking at this and it sounds like, because sometimes blogs do get paid for sponsored posts.
But you have to disclose that. By law, you have to disclose you got paid for that.
So that's a whole nother thing. And we talked about this a little bit before we started the video, because there's a whole thing with influencers. As of, I think it was 2017, influencers, social media personalities, bloggers, whatever, have to disclose legally per the FTC that they were given free stuff, that they were paid for a post or whatever. So you have to disclose that. Now,
our writers are told that all the time. Yeah, they're like, if you cover something and they brought you in there or paid for it or whatever, you have to say, hey, we were brought in for media event. We were given this room for free. We were given this whatever to review. They comped our food to review. You have to disclose that. You're required to.
It is actually when speaking of Disney and all that. We'll tie it into Disney here. When we worked as Disney influencers, we would do certain events and they would say you have to use this hashtag because that's the hashtag that the FTC is going to look at.
Right.
Because
they know.
Yeah. So they know it's not a coincidence that we have 50 different Disney influencers all talking about the same thing, posting pics of the same thing, because I think they've gotten in trouble before.
Well, I think that it's interesting, though, because, the one thing I will give them is how often has it been, and we've talked about this, attacking us even, that these people go onto Discords or go onto other places in the shadows and coordinate attacks in lockstep and all try to spin a narrative. So it does happen. I actually see where they're coming from. I just think this is a very dangerous way to handle it. I don't know how you can handle it, but this is not going to go well.
Yeah, I know. Again, this is just being proposed. It's not something that's been
Right. And it was not
passed.
DeSantis who proposed it. I want to make that very clear. People are like, DeSantis wants to shut you up. He didn't propose it.
Yeah, so I mean, but the thing is that astroturfing is a very real thing. We deal with it all the time on the channel with studios. Now here's the thing: they don't always disclose it with bloggers. A lot of times it'll just be a case of like, hey, fam, do you want to get a ticket to the premiere of whatever movie? Do you want to get an interview with whatever? Hey, why don't you just write an article about us in a positive light? Or hey, these YouTubers are really a pain in our ass. Could you maybe just, we think they're part of the alt-right. Could you maybe go out there,
start spreading that narrative,
and just casually drop that, hey, maybe they're like literally working for, Republicans or something. Who knows? Maybe, do that and we wash our hands of it,
Right. So, I mean, in that regard, I understand what they're saying because I have seen bloggers get together back channel and try to make these, concerted, like, points on or locks that we've seen at different times with different topics on even on bigger blogs.
Yeah.
You'll see that the blogs have crossover, the writers know each other, and then you'll see the same story like suddenly repeated a bunch of times because they're trying to boost the narrative. So in that regard, yeah, that's a dangerous thing and people, shouldn't be doing it. But the flip side is this kind of really, really, like you said, slippery slope because then you're starting to like, you could be attacked for lots of different things and you have to disclose everything. And how are you going to, if you're covering like 10 stories on this guy a month, how do you have to file every time?
Yeah. I mean, this is, again, it depends on how granular this is. Like if it's a case of like, hey, we're doing a sponsored post that's clearly part of an election campaign or whatever. But
and it's only elected officials. What about other people?
It's going to be used, I guarantee, if it goes through. And this is, people are like, you guys are on both sides of the fence. Yeah, this is a case where I vehemently disagree with this because I think we're talking, this is a very dangerous thing.
I think I can see why they want to do it, but I think that doing this is bad.
I can see why they want to do it, but I also know it's going to be abused.
Yes, exactly.
And it's going to be abused, and we're going to have politicians.
And censorship.
Yeah, politicians on both sides of the aisle are going to be able to shut down bloggers they don't like very, very easily. Now,
right, because it's not only just Republicans going to shut it down. This goes through any of the people that are in
any elected official
that are in. No, next, I don't know if it extends out of Florida, but they could argue that if you're writing about a Florida official, you live in another state, you have to file with Florida. I'm like, no, I don't.
So everybody just moves across the border and. It's like, I'm going to move
stupid.
Like 2 miles outside of Florida and then I'm going to write for the Florida paper and whatever. Yeah, I mean, this is dangerous. And here's the thing. And I can totally see if something like this would be passed, I could totally see like studios or whatever, big corporations doing the same thing, being like, yeah, we want to, if you're going to write an anti-whatever article, you're going to have to, register to make sure that, you're not working for our competition or something.
Well, even if you're writing a pro-whatever article, you still have to register. If you mention them in any way, for or against, you have to register this, tell them that you got paid, where you got the money from, do I have bank account information too? I mean, this is stupid. Just because make sure that you don't write what they don't like. Or there's a record of you writing it so that they could come back on you or whatever.
Yeah, so this is, again, back to John's article here. More details from the blogger bill proposed start defining a blog and bloggers. For example, the statement says the blogger's reports to the state must include the individual or entity that compensated the blogger for the blog post and the amount of compensation received from the individual or entity. Again, if it is a sponsor post, that's one thing. If we're talking ad revenue, that is too hard to track.
I think if they're saying if the blog paid them to write it, too.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
But that's already, now it is in play for companies again, that if they give you free shit or whatever. But I mean, people are going to do stuff.
They want a database. Every time you get paid to write something, that you have to let them know that you wrote about that.
Yeah, that's no.
I mean, there's a thing called Google.
Yeah, right. The bill also defines a blog as a website or web page that hosts any blogger and is frequently updated with opinion, commentary, or business content. The term does not include the website of a newspaper or other. Yeah. So, yeah.
Or another similar publication, which would probably be like
magazine or something.
Well, I would say magazine or like, one of the blogs they run or they own, or something like that,
Right.
One of the big ones.
I personally think this is one step in the direction of shutting down independent voices, independent news
The thing is, like, again, I want to point out this is not DeSantis who's putting this bill, and I don't know if he's going to go for it because right now he's supposed to be making a bid for presidency, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to look good if no one can talk about you, or everyone refuses to talk about you because they're afraid they're going to get in trouble or have to pay $2,500 if they do. I mean, this isn't going to go well. I mean, you'd think that they want the publicity. He'd want people to talk about him, good or bad. You're still out there. People are talking about you.
Yeah.
This would make it, if it put through, it'd make it impossibly hard to do that. And that would be a problem for any elected official if they want to run for a bigger office. You know, I can't do it, or I'm running for re-election. Oh, crap, my competition. Because if you're not elected, I think if you're running, you can be talked about. But if you're elected, you can't. So if someone's running for re-election, everybody can put all kinds of articles up about their competition, but they can't talk about them unless they go through all these hoops to register it.
Yeah.
So it's like cutting off your nose to spite your face.
I think I can see the intention, but it'll be abused.
I can see why they're doing it. I just don't think this is a good idea.
And there's also been some discussion too about making it easier to sue people for defamation, which again, we've talked before, and I actually do agree. I think if somebody is saying something about you that is provably false.
And they know it's provably false. It wasn't like they just didn't know.
They know they're telling a lie. They know it's false.
Like what they argued Amber Heard did.
Right. They know it can be disproven. And that lie has cost you money or relationship or whatever, that you are out something because somebody is lying to you. Somebody's running with the narrative. Other media outlets are picking up on it because you lied. You knowingly lied. And we've seen cases like this. It's come up, with J.K. Rowling. Actually, she was gonna sue people on Twitter for calling her a literal Nazi because she's like, hey, I can't really argue the transphobe thing. That's subjective, but the Nazi thing, I am absolutely positively not a Nazi, and I'm going to sue your ass if you keep telling people I'm a Nazi. And they had to apologize. In a case like that, and again, back to that MAGA hat kid, like the media knowingly manipulated what happened to put him in the worst possible light, to destroy this kid's life because they were pissed. Well, it was sensationalism, but they were pissed off that a teenager was wearing a MAGA hat, but the things didn't go down the way they said it went down. Now CNN's getting gutted and all that, but that's a totally different thing. But that could even be abused because somebody could be like, oh, your opinion of me is defamatory, and I'm going to sue you for that.
So anybody who opposes you could be silenced based on this, or could be, or you have to register or you're going to get fined, and people, don't have the money. Yeah. So a lot of these blogs don't have money.
Are you a registered blogger? Are you a state blogger? State-recognized blogger?
That's what people are concerned about. You got that right there. And if it starts in Florida, where does it end? Because I guarantee you Hollywood would abuse the hell out of this.
Oh my God, yeah. They already kind of are. They have certain sites in their back pocket, and it's basically a threat of, having the access taken away, having the ad revenue taken away. It'd be a real shame if you can't get interviews with the stars of this big movie because you said something mean.
Well, they already they do that already. But what makes me really mad too is what this guy was. If you go back to the other article, he had said, the guy presenting it, the bill makes clear that pay-to-play bloggers should be treated similar to lobbyists. Each House legislature and the commissions on ethics shall adopt by rule for application to bloggers the same procedure by which lobbyists are notified of failure to timely or file a report and the amount of assessed fines. Right, lobbyists. Okay, let's again talk about this. Blogger might get paid like, oh, I did an article for $10, and you have to go through all these hoops to register it, right? To say you got paid $10. Lobbyists were talking about billions of dollars. Like they hit 2022, it dropped down to 3.6 billion, but 2021 was $3.73 billion that was spent on lobbyists. Lobbyists basically go from your special interest group to the politicians, and let's be honest, they basically broker deals, and that's why they make money, because they're getting paid for these people to get their way. Disney, what do you think they do? How do you think they get their way all the time? People don't just do it for the goodness of their heart. I'm sure there is money exchanged. Yeah, I'm sure if you look into it, the filings, you have to. And the reason their filings are there is so that if someone wants to take the time to dig, they can find out who paid off whom. That's what it's about. That's what basically that lobbyist stuff is coming from. You can't compare bloggers who are writing an article that could be opinion-based about what their opinion of an elected official is to someone who's lobbying with millions and billions of dollars in play, and they get paid lots of money. Of course, they need to report it because it's actually affecting policy.
I can't see this pass. I mean, it might pass, but I can't see this passing because
I can't see it passing either.
This is a very dangerous.
Plus, it's going to bite people in the ass. Like
Yes.
I said, when they want to run for a bigger office and they're already in office, it limits who can talk about you.
Wouldn't it be ironic if you pushed and pushed and pushed for this to get passed and it bit you in the ass because the people that you thought would defend you are afraid to defend you because they don't want to have to register?
Right.
You know?
It's ridiculous.
I'm just saying. It's
like anti-freedom of speech. This is,
Well, welcome to 2023. I mean,
it's basically Twitter, but on a larger scale. Because
it is.
The same thing in Twitter. You have to, you don't have to register, but you have to, they can find you. They can track what you said. They, different things like that. But it reminds me of that, where it's you have to register everything you said and how much you got paid and everything else so that we can make sure we find you and know, we can say, well, you got paid off to talk about us and to slam us.
So there we go, guys. Again, we don't know if this is going to happen, not going to happen, whatever. But, my personal opinion is I think it's freaking stupid. I think it's a dangerous proposition. And I think that this will just knock over a bunch of dominoes that will make it very, very hard to criticize anybody.
They make it hard for politicians to, even move on because no one can talk about them unless they register it.
Yeah, I think at that point what would happen is like, hey, I used to talk about politics or whatever and I might have helped your cause, but now I'm just going to do a blog about gardening because I don't want to have to register with the state.
Right, it's going to bite them in the ass.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.